So how fun is it to try and train your pet, whether it's a dog or cat? And that's what we're talking about today because pet training is important for the safety of your pets. And we're very excited today here on Big Blend Radio. We have Dr. Gary Weitzman joining Nancy and I. And Dr. Gary, I was going to call him Dr. Gary now, is a pet expert. He's an animal welfare advocate, a veterinarian, and also the president and CEO of the San Diego Humane Society. And he's joining us to talk about his latest two books through the National Geographic Kids. They're called Fetch, a how-to-speak dog training guide, and Pounce, a how-to-speak cat training guide. Both books are awesome for families, especially if you just, rescued a dog or a cat or brought one home, but at any time to jump in there and start training either one of them. And, of course, this is all part of his 8 books he's published on pet care through National Geographic, and you probably have heard him on the National Public Radio program called The Animal House. So welcome, Dr. Weitzman. How are you doing?
I'm great, Lisa. Nice to talk to you and Nancy.
Yay.
Thank you.
About my favorite subject,
on...
animals.
Yes.
I know, animals, and we love the work that you do over at the San Diego Humane Society. We love all humane societies. Very, very important. And I know that right now is a busy time because COVID, everybody is turning to let's bring a pet home. So we have some company, and it's also time that, with people working from home, homeschooling, they actually have more time to take care of pets, don't you think?
Yep, it's amazing. It's a phenomenon what's happening now. I mean, COVID is horrible, but the silver lining we keep talking about in animal welfare is that none of us have animals in our shelters for long periods anymore, all across the United States. They're going as fast as we get them in, which is something I've dreamed about. We all have, but it's actually happening because people really need the company of an animal. I get it. I couldn't really survive this without my dog right now.
Yeah. Well, we can't survive our full-time travels without our little pet sitting segments because they keep us happy, right, Nancy?
Yeah, and just thinking people are beginning to think about when COVID goes away, they will continue to work at home. So getting a pet is a good thing. So
right. The other side of this has been our worry in animal welfare that all the animals are getting placed now because people are looking for dogs and cats for companionship. The shelters don't have the animal inventory that we normally have. Like here at San Diego Humane, we take care of about 50,000 animals a year, and we normally would have about 3,000, something like that, maybe 2,500 to 3,000 animals at all of our campuses. We've only got about 750, and half of those are in foster. So they're going so fast that we don't have to worry about them, in the shelter being here for long term. It's just fantastic. So the worry really has changed to what happens when COVID is under control and everybody goes back to work. But I think you're absolutely right. I don't think we're all going back to work the way we used to. And I really don't think that if people have this much time to spend with their animals, they, I hope, will value them the way we think they should be valued, and who would give them up then? So I hope the concern about, relinquishments post-COVID, I don't think those are going to happen, but that might just be wishful thinking. But hopefully it won't be. Hopefully people will really, truly hold on to their pets. I mean, I can't even imagine not, but circumstances happen, but I think we're going to see a real shift in how people, work from home and how they actually interact with their pets. So you may have, once we can travel, you may have more pet sitting gigs.
Cool. Because we want them.
Yeah.
Because we've got a lot of work to do because we travel crazy, and then where downtime is, and there's a balance that is created by hanging out with animals that gets you away from the computer because a dog will keep you fit. Cats will keep you in line. But I think, I do want to touch on the training because not only because of your books, but I think when people are bringing these animals home because of COVID, now suddenly it's like bringing home a new baby. Our life is going to be completely different. We've got our habits, our rituals of, how we do things in life, and that's changed already because of COVID. Suddenly we're at home longer, and now we can have coffee in our jammies and wear a decent shirt for Zoom. But now you're bringing home animals, and So part of what I think happens, and please correct me because you're the expert on this, is when someone brings an animal home, whether it's a pet shop, and I hope those are really going away because I'd hate to see that go up. But if they've rescued them or purchased them from a legit breeder, not a puppy mill, when they bring them home, if they don't train them in a humane way, and the animal starts going potty somewhere or chewing on furniture, then next thing you know, here comes anger, there's resentment, it's not a happy family, and then they come back to you. Is that kind of what happens without training?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You hit it right on the head. One of the biggest reasons that animals will get relinquished to an animal shelter is not having a well-behaved animal. So behavior issues, obviously medical issues too, because that can be so expensive. But really, it's people's lives changing and the animal not being sometimes. I don't want to say convenient, but the animal not being able to be cared for easily. And I think that people need that. So here's the best way to do it. Listen, if you got kids at home and they're not going into school and they need content along with their curriculum at school, these are great tools. They're a living laboratory. So the books are actually focused on helping all of us train animals with positive reinforcement only. So, never punishment. Sometimes negative reinforcement, and that's a whole other story and a whole probably other show. Negative reinforcement can just be like take away a cookie if your dog's not behaving, something like that. That doesn't necessarily. Well, that might be punishment if you're a dog, actually. But really, the whole key is never to use punishment on any animal because it just backfires. But I think, you're right. Well-behaved animals are, one, they're easier to live with, and two, training them increases the bond between the trainer and the animal. So it's great if it's kids, but it's great if it's any of us.
And safety.
They love attention. Dogs and cats just
Don't we
love
all?
attention. Yeah. So, I mean, when you're training them, you're giving them attention, and I think they like to be trained.
Well,
yes,
okay, what about
do.
cats? Cats, come on. I mean,
Totally.
even in your book you say cats, that whole, it's like a myth
funny.
that cats can't be trained because I do feel like I know this is a family house that we're, pet sitting and taking care of the home. We've got a boxer, we've got a Pyrenees mountain dog, and two sister cats that kind of get along kind of on and off. But and you wouldn't believe they're sisters, but they are. Lynx, we got Lynx and Miss Pickles, which I call Princess. But there's like a training going on. I almost feel like Princess is training the dogs. And once in a while, the dogs do get her back, but not badly. Nothing. It's all in fun. But I feel like, yes, cats could be training the humans, but you're saying we can train cats, actually.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Absolutely can train cats. Cats are very good, very, very good to train. But the thing about cats is, first of all, the attention span on adult dogs and cats, maybe you got 10 minutes, twice a day, but not consecutive. Maybe you got 10 minutes for dogs and for cats. But for cats, the 10 minutes are when the cat says they are. For dogs, they can be any time. For cats, they tell you when they're willing to be trained. But then they're very trainable. And as a matter of fact, clicker training that, all of us in the animal world know about, and clickers are great little 79-cent devices you can pick up at any pet store, and they just click a command that you then reward. But cats are really great at clicker training. So, you can definitely train cats. And, I forgot to tell you, here's something else. To me, the importance of training, okay, it's really great to have well-trained dogs and cats, but to me, the real value in training is giving otherwise bored animals enrichment and something to do because they're not watching television, they're not listening to Big Blend radio. Maybe they are, but they need enrichment in their day. So that's another reason that training is such a good thing to do with dogs and cats.
I like that. What about laser? The one cat Cusco has a little laser toy, to go and chase after and everything.
Yeah.
She loved that. And can you incorporate toys like that into part of the training?
You can. Now, the laser pointer is, you just have to be careful of two things. One, don't shine it into your cat's eyes or anybody's eyes. And so assuming that you don't do that, they love playing with it, but always let them get rewarded by capturing the light. So make sure you've got something to throw down there for them as a reward. Otherwise, you're going to make an insane cat because they're just going to be playing with the laser, and they're never going to get anything out of grabbing the light because it really doesn't exist. So just make sure you reward the hunt. That's the key with cats.
Oh, cool.
Oh, they want to kill, and they want to disembowel.
Yeah.
You know, nice.
Oh, they do, and they want to bring the head back to show you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, but and it's interesting with cats, But also, I know one thing you talk about is the potty thing. Okay, so from what we have experienced, we've had numerous animals over the years, from horses to chickens, dogs, all rescues. When we've seen animals with their potty habits, if they are majority of the time, it's like if you're in someone's home, they're upset. That's kind of what we've seen a lot, is that there's an upset animal if they're maybe you haven't cleaned the litter box. They're going to go on the outside. Yeah, there's some kind of stress going on. Yeah. Talk
Nearly
a little bit about
always.
training that.
Well, yeah, with cats, litter box accidents are nearly 100% due to stress. And, always, get a urine sample checked by your vet just to be sure. But I'll tell you, frankly, many, many, many cats can have bladder, infections or bladder issues and not miss the litter box. But very few cats that are stressed will use the litter box regularly. So that's the most important thing. Stress and anxiety in cats, that almost always causes inappropriate urination. And the thing to look at is how many cats do you have in the house? Because really, there is a limit to what cats can tolerate. They're social animals, but they don't like to be in big groups, and that's why you see in feral cat colonies they are well spaced. So if you have a home with 5 or 6 cats in it, that's a lot of cats for the cats. And then even a cat outside, if you have indoor cats, that cat outside being visible to your indoor cat can really stress your indoor cat, because there's no way for her to protect the territory, and they are territorial, and there's no way for that cat to interact with the outdoor cat. The same thing with birds. If they see a bird, that can be fantastic enrichment, but it can also be very frustrating because they can never kill the bird. So stress will almost always cause urinary problems, and it can always cause, I should say, to be really accurate, it can always cause urinary problems with the cat. And then with dogs, it's so relatively, there's always the little guys that are a little more refractory to house training, but they can all be housebroken and house trained, and a crate is your best friend to do that.
Oh, a crate. So tell us a little bit about that, because the crating thing, Nancy and I are always like in this weird thing about we don't want to put them in a cage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I know a lot of pet owners will do that. They'll put their dog in a crate when they go to bed. Or they're sleeping with the dog in the bed, so there's all these different things. But with the crate, is a crate the friend, or like, here's your cage? I look at it as punishment, but maybe I should change my attitude.
Because you're not a dog. But if the crate is done properly, it's definitely a friend. It can be your dog's second best friend. They can love crates. You have to make it a comfortable place, big enough for them to get up and turn around and stretch out and sleep. Put the toys in there, treats in there, make sure there's water, all those things. I mean, my dog now, I've only got one because I lost my big shepherd a little while ago, and we're looking for another one, but I've got my 13-year-old now, and when she was a puppy, we would just say, Betty, get in your box, and she would just go walking over into her box, hop right in. I mean, she'd almost close the door. It gives them a real sense of security. So if you have it in a comfortable place and it's really their little home, they can love it. Ideally, I think we shouldn't need crates eventually. If you have a dog that you don't have to worry about getting into trouble while you're not watching him or her, then you don't need a crate. And most of us get to that point where our dogs live on the sofa, not in a crate. But there's occasional ones where you still need a crate just for their safety and your house's safety. But it's always nice to just have a dog you trust that can do very well in the living room without anybody monitoring the dog. That's or on their dog bed. That's the best you can hope for, and it happens most of the time.
Well, you know what? On the side of the crate, and same even for cats and horses. You in California, I know, going through so many wildfires, and we've been through them when we lived in the mountains. And suddenly, people forgot that, do they have a crate? Do they have a way to put their cats in the cat box, And
Oh, right,
the horses,
right.
and there's this whole paranoia that happens, which adds this huge other stress on an evacuation plan. And you got to think things happen in life, whether it's hurricanes, if you're on the East Coast, it could be anything, or like, hey, we need to, there's whatever. I mean, right now the world is weird.
Right.
So I think you're right about that,
absolutely.
with getting them to be your friends, so you don't have a additional drama for the animal.
Yeah, so if you're talking about like a cat carrier, the best thing you can do for your cat, and not even thinking about wildfires necessarily, but just normal life, is to take that carrier out, open up the door, and let your cat just explore it for a month. Put treats in there eventually, let your cat go in, just take it very slowly. Don't ever make that carrier something brand new when you need it, because when you need it, if you have an emergency, or you're trying to get to the vet to do vaccines or whatever, you don't want to be doing it that day. You want your cat to not panic. And, we're really big into fear-free treatment of animals now at vet hospitals, in the shelter. I think we have so many people in our shelter here that are fear-free certified. We don't want cats to ever panic by any situation, because that doesn't help anybody. But get them used to the crate. Make it a welcoming, fun place that doesn't have any exhibit any threat to the cat. That's going to be your best friend. And you're right. Now that we're in wildfire season and hurricane season, you should have an emergency plan for your animals, and definitely have a crate for your cat, a little extra kitty litter, a small cardboard lid, so that can be a litter box. Everything so that you can leave your house quickly. Yeah.
And that's where training comes in too, because then it's just part of, hey, we're just going to go for a little walk, or we're just going to go for a little ride in the car. So it becomes the natural thing instead of a drama thing, because that's when stuff happens with all animals retaliate if they feel they're boxed in, right? If they're cornered, or
they get scared.
They get scared. Fear is not a friend.
Fear-free. Fear-free is the key. Yep. Everything we do should be fear-free.
Yeah.
That is really cool. So now you talk about the youth getting involved. I mean, this is a family book, right? And I love that. If the families can do it together, or kids get out there with their animals, because one of the things you see is, here's a young child gets a new puppy, or there's puppies or kittens or whatever, and they don't mean to hurt the animals, but they do, just the way they pick them up and things. So the training helps teach the kids how to handle the animals in that way, so that it's not harmful.
It's magic. It really is to have a child learn how to train a pet with parents supervising. At some point, they don't need to, because these books are they're National Geographic Kids, but I think anybody can use them. It's an amazing magical thing, because they're learning how to be empathic and compassionate. They're learning how to teach, which is that's not easy. Most of us aren't teachers, and they're learning how to do that, and they're having this incredible benefit of this stronger bond with themselves and their pet. I think it's a really fantastic thing for families to do. And teaching kids, these books are they were fun, but they were really hard to write. And I've got two great co-writers, Aubrey Andrus on Fetch and Tracy West on Pounce, and they're educators and wonderful writers and just terrific animal people. And both women, honestly, they're magic at putting teaching plans together like this. So I've never seen until now 5 steps to teach nearly anything you want to teach. And they start with the beginning, lessons, and then intermediate training, and then advanced training. So everything from how to, basically sit and stay and all the usuals, to how do you ring a bell on the doorknob when you want your owners to let you out. So, and there's other things too.
Wow.
And it's not really about tricks and all that, because I don't think we want to teach our animals tricks. But what we do want to do is to have bonding time with them. So the more you can actually teach them and show them how to do, the more boredom you're getting rid of, because our animals really don't have the stimuli that we'd like them to have, even in the best situations. I always worry how my dogs are feeling about going through the whole day, even though they're with me. I can't spend all the time on the floor with them. I have a job, but You just want to fill their time, in a worthwhile, enriched way, and that's where training comes in. That's really where the magic is. And to get kids started with it, best thing in the world.
Well, I love that you say about the dogs. You say how a dog learns, and we do a lot of shows on youth education. It's a huge part of it, and the core is how to teach children how to study and how to learn. And especially now with this virtual, we work with Super Camp, who's also in San Diego, up in Oceanside. They teach students how to study, and for them to understand: are they visual? Are they audio? How are they taking in information? And once they understand how they take in information, they're able to really put a study plan and really study and be more effective. And I think what's interesting about you teaching youth how dogs learn, you're getting them to think about, how do I learn? How am I studying?
Yep.
So I feel like there's an extra benefit in there for kids to learn how to learn.
Well, I think too when they train a pet and they ask the pet to do something, the pet does it, there's a feeling of confidence. Like I made something happen in a nice way, I actually asked, and I think that builds confidence for a child.
Yeah, there's definitely reward in here for both animal and human in a training protocol. No question.
Yes. So now, okay, so you can train both. You can get all ages involved in this, especially with parents, right? Okay, so you say no punishment. So the one thing is you talk about rewards. So what are some of the best rewards we can give our pets? Because I also look at there's treats. I mean, we've learned over the years now that a lot of the animal food wasn't so good for our animals. So what would you recommend for treats? I mean, for cats, should we go fishing for them or take them fishing?
They would love that.
Yeah,
they
really.
would. Yeah, you could. You can go fishing at pet stores for them if you want. So food is obviously one of the best motivator for cats and dogs. Dogs definitely are food motivated, but cats are too. And you have to find the right food and you have to find the right time. So if the cats aren't food motivated right now, that's because they're cats. But they may well be at 4:30 this afternoon. So then you'll know their routine and know when the best time is to start training them. But for cats, little Pounce treats and salmon treats and those kinds of things can be really terrific. But just make sure that it's special. So you only give those treats during a training session. So they're the big reward. And for dogs, dogs can be way more, parochial about what they'll eat. So you could probably have a wider scope of things, but I love string cheese and hot dogs, and just make sure you cut it up into small pieces because you don't need to feed a lot. You just need to mark every success with a treat, so you don't want to overdo it either. But don't worry about going low carb. Don't worry about going quote-unquote healthy because you're just using small amounts but frequently. And just save them. Save those things for when you're training. But you can definitely motivate cats. But I loved the first part of your question, what's the best thing for an animal? I think our attention is the best thing. But that's not necessarily going to be able – that might not actually be what gets them to perform a trick, so to speak.
Yeah.
It just being with us is going to be the good thing for them. Sometimes it is. Sometimes, and eventually when you have a clicker, you don't have to treat as much. The click itself is so associated with a treat that in itself can be the marker to the success of a behavior. But I always like to carry treats with me for my dogs.
What do you think of dog parks? And taking a dog into a dog park.
Oh, there's a really good
precautions
question. Yeah, lots of cautions. I'm not the biggest fan in the world of dog parks, but let me qualify that. I love the idea. I don't love the idea for every dog. So if your dog does well in a dog park, doesn't mind the Saturday night cocktail party, which is the effect that it's more like a frat party that like for us. If your dog can do okay in that and really enjoys it and is interactive and tail wagging, okay, that's great. And as long as there's no quote unquote bullies in the dog park, then it can be great. It really can, and it's a safe place because it's fenced in and it's legally appropriate because we don't want dogs running off leash. but it's not for every dog. And I know my little pit mix, she would call Dog Protective Services, which would be really calling my office if I brought her to a dog park, because she'd be so upset about being there. It's not for her. So it can be overwhelming. I think that's the real caution of dog parks. It can really be overwhelming for a lot of dogs. But if your dog is doing great there and you enjoy it, great. Great.
Okay. Yeah, I was always wondering about that as pet sitters. Like, I'd be scared to take a dog that I don't know into a setting like that. Or, and it's the same as taking your dogs for a walk. We're very much like, people are like, you can take them off the leash. And I'm like, heck no.
No.
We're just going to take things calm and easy because, and I think taking your dog for a walk is one of the coolest experiences you can have for both parties.
Yep. It is.
Getting outside.
It really is.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you could take your cat for a walk too. So we did talk about in the book about how to train your cat to use a harness and to go outside. And I think we've all seen like one cat in our lifetimes that has done this. But God, it's a fantastic thing if you can do it and train. And you can train your cat to be in a harness and be safely with you on a walk. You just have to have patience and give it a few months to teach your cat how to do it. But they can do it. Not every cat wants to do that, but many do. And boy, it's amazing to see that. It's wonderful to see that. And you can safely have your cat explore, and you don't have to worry about predators and cars and all those and coyotes out here. It's a really great thing to do if you can do it.
Yeah,
my cats want out.
Yeah, they want out, but they don't want a harness. So if they knew the harness would be the ticket to them getting out more, they'd probably be yippee. But when you first put a harness on, they're all like, "What are you doing?"
Oh yeah, you don't go outside with the harness on the first time. Definitely not.
Because if you don't get it on right, they can get out.
They sit with catnip.
Absolutely. Catnip can be your friend. Really, that could be another reward for performing well. But you can't expect them to really be that focused on you if you do too much catnip. So I would save that till the end.
Okay, yeah, because, and I think like here where we are, we're on a big piece of property, so all the animals are fine, and if we go outside with the dogs, the cats go for a walk. They're into it, man. It's like, they're like little hunters, so it's like they want out. They want out for sure, so.
And they are little hunters. Everything they do, every game, every play, every training for them is about the hunt. Everything that they enjoy is about hunting. And, our cats are really, as much as we love and take care of them, and they're incredible animals, and we want to keep them safe, keeping them in the house is not the same thing as letting them be cats and be outside and hunt and stalk and pounce, all those things. And that's really the heartbreaking part. But we can't. It's just a reality. It's not safe out there for them. So we encourage everyone to keep their cats inside. And we all know everyone can't do that. It's not always up to us. It can be up to your cat. So, but it scares me. I don't like them being outside at all. I really don't. But I know they're happier out there.
Yeah, especially if you're in an area with like heavy traffic. You know?
Oh, absolutely.
And coyotes.
Oh, yeah.
And coyotes. And bobcats. We saw.
Bobcat?
We went on a morning walk. This was years ago. And we lived in Arizona, and we're taking our morning walk. And I don't know why this person did this, but they put their cat on a leash and tied it up so it was outside the front door, but couldn't go anywhere. Like, dogs are tied outside and on a leash. And a bobcat came and just took it. Like, that's it. There went the cat. And I wanted to go in and yell at the homeowner. And what do you do? I'll call you next time. It's like, what? Don't leash your cats outside. That's cruel, man. They can't defend themselves from bobcats.
I've never heard of anybody doing that, but that would be a terrible thing.
That was
that's
really
a bait.
Bizarre.
That's baiting the coyote with your own cat.
I think they meant
that's
well,
terrible.
And just didn't understand. But this is why we appreciate your books, because you're really teaching coexistence. Is really what I think it goes down to. Is training and everybody getting together is about being thoughtful about each other, and that's coexistence, and that's what needs to happen for the entire planet of animals. We have to coexist and help them,
including us. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Again, Dr. Gary Weitzman. Go get his books. They're all through National Geographic Kids. Fetch, a How to Speak Dog Training Guide, and Pounce, a How to Speak Cat Training Guide. So check them both out there. Of course, Amazon, all those places, great places you can get. But also look at your independent bookstores. I always want to give them a shout out too. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to play a song for you. This is Uncle Remus Tales, and it's from our good friends, the Tallman Group, based out of Southern California as well. So here it is, Uncle Remus Tales. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you both. Great talking to you.
You too. Take care and stay safe.
You too.
He come home from work, I was already in bed. Mama fixed him a plate, I'd stay awake, 'cause I knew once he was fed, he'd climb them stairs, open the door to my room. With a pat on the head, he'd sit on the edge, read me a story or two about Brother Bear and Mr. Cricket. Old Brer Rabbit loved jumping in the thicket, and brave King Lion saving Sister Cow. They lived together in them woods somehow, every time without fail. Off into dreamland I'd sail, with Daddy reading them Uncle Remus tales. Now that old storyteller, he lived in a cabin in the South, with a corncob pipe bouncing just right. Stories flowed with the smoke from his mouth, and Daddy would read 'em just the way they was written. Them creatures came alive at my bedside, sometimes scared me a bit, like when Sister Fox met Swamp Gator, that gizzard eater nearly ate her. Don't be frightened now, Brother Frog, you'll be safe in that old hollow log. And every time, without fail, off into dreamland I'd sail, with Daddy reading them Uncle Remus tales. Come home from work, my boy's never asleep. I fix me a plate, climb them stairs, into his room I will peek. Him and his friends are playing them video games. I shake my head, shut the door, think to myself, what a shame for poor Brother Bear and Mr. Cricket. Nobody cares, Brer Rabbit's in the thicket, or brave King Lion saving Sister Cow. Wish my daddy would read me one now, like when Sister Fox met Swamp Gator. Man, that gizzard eater nearly ate it, and every time, without fail, off into dreamland I'd sail, with my daddy reading them Uncle Remus tells. Some nights we'd both fall asleep to them Uncle Remus